What is going on, ballers? My name is Corey, and welcome back to Ballers on a Budget. We got your boy Cody right beside me at the board. We started our fantasy league. We just finished our draft. Took a little while. We got 12 teams in it. The biggest league we've had so far.
12? Yeah, that's more friends than I can count ever.
But we just want to take you on the journey with us through this league and see who ends up getting the cash at the end and see who gets that golden plunger. And I'll show you a picture of the painting. You got to sign if you lose, more towards the end of the video. But I'd say that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and jump in to who picked who in what round.
Welcome to this year's fantasy football draft. The start of round one, Bryson had pick one, and he took Christian McCaffrey.
Team Zach then came up big and picked up Derrick Henry.
T.O. with pick three came up even bigger with the best back in the league, Nick Chubb.
Your boy picked up Devontae Adams at number 4.
Number 5, first QB taken off the board, Josh Allen, the slinger.
Shortly after, Patty Mahomes gets ripped off those sheets.
Right after Kermit the Frog, Tina the Llama takes Dalvin Cook at 7.
Tyreek Hill auto-drafted by Heather.
I drafted Alvin Kamara, an automatic win.
With the 10th pick of round 1, Team Brian selects DK Metcalf.
Scott, with pick 11, goes Aaron Jones.
And to wrap up the first round, Team Noah picks up Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm here with Cody to speak about the last pick of the 12th round, in which Zach Ertz was still available and selected by Team Bryson. Cody, how do you feel about that?
Well, considering Bryson's my offspring, and at the time I still needed a tight end, I was a little bit miffed about the selection. You know, and I brought him into this world, helped raise him, keep a roof over a little fucker's head, and instead of giving his old man the pick, save it for later, Pops, here you go. No, he takes it like a selfish little prick that he is. I'm sure he's going to eat all the Cheerios when he gets home, too.
So we know how you feel about your offspring, as you said. How do you feel about the player that was selected?
Zach Ertz. He can be a great tight end, one of the best in the game. Last year, he only played 11 games and put up a lackluster 36 receptions for 335 yards and 1 touchdown. But if he can somehow revert to his 2019 or 2018 season, it'll be phenomenal and obviously the biggest steal of the draft at 12. If you go back to 2018, that's when he was in the peak of his prime. He played all 16 games, 116 receptions, and 1,163 yards on 8 touchdowns. Never has a high amount of touchdown total for being a tight end, thinking he would get a lot of goal line snags. But that's just never been him in his career. But if the receptions and yards can step back up, this is the steal of the draft, hands down.
You heard it here, folks. Stick around, and we'll talk about the new Dolphins wide receiver, Will Fuller.
I'm here with Corey Lozier, and now the tables have turned because I've got a question for him. All right. With the 11th pick in the 10th round, Team Zach decided to select Will Fuller, knowing he's suspended. What are your thoughts on that?
I personally think it was a good pick. I was looking at him for a long time before that. Like you had mentioned, however, he is suspended stemming from last year for 1 game due to violation of the drug policies. He hasn't practiced in a couple weeks, and he is kind of a boomer or bust kind of guy. He was a good number 2 with DeAndre Hopkins on the Houston Texans. And once they traded D-Hop, I think he was a decent number 1, or at least an attempt at a number 1. So overall, I pretty much think it was a good pick. I know you think it's a little crowded for him, but I think it'll give it'll make room for Devontae Parker. Maybe help him come out of his, I don't want to call it a slump, but
do you think there's enough space for Will Fuller to even be productive fantasy-wise with all other players that are going to be around him are still said to be fantasy relevant as well?
I mean, I like how the lineup could shape out. Devontae Parker, Will Fuller on the other side, and then you got, obviously, Myles Gaskin in the backfield, Gesicki right up next to him. I think him and Waddle, him being Will Fuller, I think him and Waddle swap out.
Won't be a bad thing. Let Waddle kind of take that third receiver position and sit back and watch for a lot of the routes and let them two run it the most. All right. Thank you for your time.
We are going to talk about the most accurate kicker in this league. The leg himself, picked in round 7. Now, Cody, I just got one question for you. Do you think it was too early to be picking a kicker?
For my acquired taste, it's very too early to pick a kicker. Round 7, we have 1 quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. That's just enough to fill your starting lineup. A kicker on the year, like Tucker, maybe will get you 70, 80 points on the year. There were tons of backup running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends that could have got you hundreds on the season. So for me, it's too early. But like you said, once one person in the league starts taking a kicker, you kind of have to follow suit, or you're going to end up with dog shit for kickers. Cody Parkey, in fact, like people like him. So yes, I do think it's too early, but that's just me.
What can you tell us a little bit about Justin Tucker?
When you say Justin Tucker, you can't help but refrain from saying the words greatness. And when I say greatness, I'm mentioning his stats. Kicks from 20 to 29 yards. He goes 77 for 77 throughout his career. That's 100%. I'm talking greatness. Kicks 30 from 39. Still clear up there at 97%. 85 for 88, only missing 3. Greatness. 40 for 49 on kicks. Still up there in the upper echelon. 90%. 87 for 96. Hashtag greatness. And kicks from 50 yards. I know some people that can't even see 50 yards. And this dude's kicking footballs for 50 yards, and he's rocking it at a 70%, 42 out of 60. Greatness.
Continue.
Okay, it's his interviewer can keep his shit together. But yeah, I mean, Justin Tucker is greatness. But I don't think it's greatness enough to take before round 7. That's all I got.
I'm sorry. It gets a little emotional.
Greatness.
Speaking of emotional, let's talk about this next, actually, a pick from Cody. An OBJ pick from Cody. Hashtag
Greatness.
don't draft and drive. So with an emotional 3rd pick in round 7, let's move a little bit farther down the board in round 7. With Landry still on the board, Odell Beckham Jr. was taken just picks before him. Cody, can you kind of explain yourself?
If this was in any other setting like I'm used to, I would just say I plead the 5th. But I'm in a basement, so I'm actually going to talk it out. I'm just going to defend myself saying that this was like 5 picks after Justin Tucker, so I still stand by this pick. It was a mistake on my part, but not as a big a mistake as taking Justin Tucker at 7. With a heavy heart and heavy fingers, I did select ODB as the first receiver gone from Cleveland. I seen Baker Mayfield get drafted a couple picks before, and I panicked, and I thought, if Baker's gone, obviously Nick Chubb went in the first round, there's going to be nobody left. So I panicked, and I just clicked him. I wanted a Cleveland Browns player just to root for him. Also, I was driving while drafting, which is never safe. They should have commercials about it to remind me often. But I didn't want to scroll down too far and lose my spot within the app. And while I'm scrolling, I would have lost my spot on the road, ended up in a ditch or a different lane that wasn't mine. So, yeah, I took ODB before Jarvis Landry and Austin Hooper. So sue me about it. I'm not the one getting emotional. It's Corey getting emotional. He's just emotional because he can't have him. Justin Tucker did do lackluster last year, only 23 receptions for 319 yards and 1 touchdown.
And by Justin Tucker, he means OBJ.
I do mean OBJ. Justin Tucker could probably catch 23 receptions for 319 yards in a year, but it was ODB who did it. He only played in 7 games that year. If he can revert back to his 2019 year, 74 receptions, not a whole lot of receptions, but he did eclipse over 1,000 yards, so that's more yards per catch. With only 4 touchdowns, his touchdowns number were never high. I think his highest on the year was 8 with New York, but if he can revert back and not just be a distraction on the field, I'm okay with this pick.
I'm also okay with it because I didn't pick either of them. I didn't make the mistake. Speaking of mistakes, we're going to talk to somebody who drafted J.K. Dobbins in the second round, first pick in the second round, and see what he has to say about that now that he could be injured.
I'm here with longtime friend of the family, newly acquired listener and lover, Brian motherfucking May. Finally. In the second round, Brian decided to select J.K. Dobbins. We all know what he can do. 805 yards, 9 touchdowns, 18 receptions, 120 receiving yards. We just got some bad breaking news. And after this breaking news, what are your thoughts on this pick in the hindsight, Brian?
Well, in the hindsight, it was a great pick. I believe it was a very good pick in the second round. I got DK Metcalf in the first round with a lot of the high-ranking running backs in the league taken early in the first round, like CMC, Derrick Henry, and Nick Chubb, which obviously I would love to get Nick Chubb. But that didn't happen. I ended up with J.K. Dobbins. Unfortunately, he got hurt. We don't know the extent of his injury in the preseason game, but there's an injury. It's unfortunate, but I think if it's not serious, he can still be a serious threat in the NFL. With Lamar Jackson and the Ravens' high-powered offense, I believe he's going to be very relied on the run game. Lamar Jackson, I think he has something to prove as being a quarterback. A lot of people are, referring to him as a running back, so he's getting a lot of heat on that. So I think he's going to try, gunsling it, throw it a lot more to Hollywood Brown, as he should. He's a great receiver. So I feel like he has the weapons to be a solid quarterback and let the run game go through J.K. Dobbins. Even though he got hurt, I still think it's a solid pick.
I completely agree. Solid pick, just bad circumstances. If we would have had the draft an hour or two later, could have all been avoided. But those were the interviews for the day, and boy, do I love hearing Brian talk. But this was Ballers on a Budget. We had Corey. We had myself, the winner, soon-to-be winner of the league anyways. We had the fantastic and lovely Brian motherfucking May. And be sure to like and subscribe. Follow all of our social media. Be sure to drop some comments down below. We'll be putting up a list of all of our teams and who's in said teams, obviously. But we're out today for now. Mic drop.